Hey, it's that crazy blue-haired chick from Reversing Diabetes. One of the most common objections to keto is that it seems too expensive to eat all that meat. I can't address every type of keto because I don't do every type myself, but will present a plan for an omnivore keto diet based on prices here in central Pennsylvania in December 2021. And I'll try to provide enough context to translate to other locations. Stay to the end for another contest. For context, if you're unfamiliar with the US dollar, I have some numbers from the USDA. There's a link to the data they collect in the description box below, but it is a bit overwhelming. So, the numbers on the screen are for a woman between the ages of 51 to 70 because that's what I am. It's based on the government's idea of nutritious meals and snacks as prepared at home. It's expected that on average people eat out some. So this data is used to calculate SNAP benefits, formerly called food stamps, for poor people. Basically, this is a system of credits paid for by the government with which only food can be purchased. In December 2021, the maximum allotment was $250 for a single person household, so a bit more than the low-cost plan. So basically, it's not a lot of money, and in most communities there are food banks to supplement this, and likely most people using food stamps are shopping sales pretty heavily and still may be a bit on the hungry side by the end of the month. So the government expects $250 a month to feed me on their idea of nutritious food, which requires me to be diabetic and on insulin, so I don't care much what they think is nutritious. I eat a ketogenic diet using intermittent fasting, the 1 meal a day model. I do this because I prefer not being 300 pounds and diabetic, but the fact that I'm not planning 3 meals a day plus multiple snacks is extremely helpful to the budget. And the fact that I'm not eating carby stuff means I'm not raising my insulin to the degree that it makes me hungry all the time, so that the OMAD model is sustainable for me. Nothing makes me as hungry as eating carby stuff. Now, there are a lot of versions of keto, from the extreme of carnivore to the other extreme of vegan, but I'm in the middle. I'm in the omnivore area. There's a lot of reasons for this. First of all, low-carb vegetables are extremely handy when you have a lot of weight to lose, as they fill you up significantly for a very low caloric cost. And a lot of fiber keeps you satiated for a long time. And I like vegetables. I've joked that my main argument against carnivore is, sure, I'd love to eat prime rib for every meal, but it needs mushrooms and onions on it. Meat, eggs, and dairy have nutrients that are hard to get in sufficient quantities to maximize health in strictly plant foods. And I also like animal foods. So my argument against vegetarianism is bacon. For me, in addition to keeping my insulin low to control my appetite, I also need my meals to be easy to prepare. While I greatly enjoy cooking, I'm just not up to it every day. Life didn't stop happening to me just because I went keto, and sometimes the day gets away from me. If it's time to eat and I'm stressed and exhausted, there's next to no chance I'm going to whip up a gourmet meal in my kitchen. As luck would have it, I began my journey in the Eat Like a Bear group, which was about a year old when I began. Though it's a community dedicated to weight loss rather than reversing diabetes, given that both involve reducing insulin as much as possible in order to reduce insulin resistance, it worked for me. And many others. You should see the testimonials playlist on this channel. I'll link to it below. Why I say this was lucky for me is because in the year before I joined, while the group was experimenting with many versions of keto, they had found that the most successful meal type for weight loss was something called the ridiculously big salad. So the RBS model starts with a ginormous amount of lettuce as the base. Something in the vicinity of like 1.5 hearts of romaine or a whole head of iceberg lettuce, although any greens you like will do. The second bit is the salad dressing, which is generally either seasoned yogurt and mayo mix or a seasoned oil and vinegar mix. The third bit is the protein, meat, eggs, and or cheese. In addition, many of the recipes also include a fourth layer, things like onions, bell peppers, nuts and seeds for the yummy factor, but while remaining both carb and calorie conscious. The thing about the RBS model is that it is extremely filling and gets thrown together in about 10 minutes each day. For me, this makes it truly sustainable in a way that the vast majority of diets have never been. I'll link to the RBS book in the description box below, which includes a method for batch cooking protein, numerous recipes, shopping lists, and even a 6-week meal plan. If you're too broke for that, you can sign up for the free 3-day challenge, which can get you started without buying the book. So, as I said at the top, I can't illustrate that every form of keto is frugal enough to do on food stamps, but we'll show that the way I do keto specifically is. I'm ignoring all the standard frugal ideas, using food banks, shopping sales, buying in bulk, gardening, buying half a cow for your freezer. I'm just using the standardly available products not on sale, available to me here in central Pennsylvania. So, one of our better meat stores here is a chain called Carnes. Carnes sells meat bundles, and while the specifics vary each month, this example of what's on offer for December 2021 is typical. It basically comes down to 22 pounds of meat for $70. The RBS is topped with 6 to 8 ounces of meat, so depending exactly on how I eat, this would be between 44 and 59 days of meat, depending on my protein appetite, which can vary sometimes. But given I'll also use eggs and canned tuna and cheese for some of my protein, I'm pretty sure this will get me through 2 months of meals. So, that is $35 for the majority of my protein for the month. Carnes doesn't have online shopping, so I used Wegmans' website for the rest of my calculations so I could show pictures of the current costs. I'm calling the base of the salad either 1.5 heads of romaine or 1 head of iceberg, which for me is actually a heck of a lot more than I eat. So if I did about half of each, I'd need 8 3-packs of romaine for 16 meals and 14 heads of iceberg to complete the month. I had planned to stretch the meat by using some eggs and cheese, so chose family packs of each. There's no way I'd go through this much cheese and eggs, but I'm trying to err on the side of having too much rather than not enough. Next, we have the salad dressing ingredients, critical to actually eating all this darn lettuce. I assume about half the time I'll do a yogurt mayo based dressing, and about the other half of the time I'll do an olive oil apple cider vinegar dressing. So I need at least 4 cups of yogurt, mayo, olive oil, and apple cider vinegar to get me through the month. While I'm not buying pastured meat and dairy nor organic produce in this example, I did splurge on avocado mayo and extra virgin olive oil. This being most of the fat I'm getting in my diet, I do try to choose healthy fats, no matter how broke I am. Some seasonings will be involved, but I won't need to buy those every month, so I assume just a few, the most basic for making ranch dressing and vinaigrettes. Over time, my stockpile of seasonings will grow. Yes, the cost is getting up there. Healthy fat is expensive, but we'll have much of this left over next month, as well as of the seasonings. Next, I'm going to get a source of potassium and magnesium to add to my salt, and some lemon juice and stevia to make a homemade electrolyte drink. The stevia is a bit pricey, but this will last for months. If you don't know why I consider making electrolytes absolutely crucial, there's a link to my electrolytes playlist below. So, if you recall, we're working with a budget of $250, so I still have over $46 to spend on extras. Being me, I buy a family pack of coffee, which is $13.99, then buy fun stuff for my salads, that fourth layer, like red onions, bell peppers, tomatoes, black olives, sunflower seeds, or maybe I'd upgrade some of that lettuce to spring mix or a butterhead Boston kind of lettuce. This is not far from my actual budget. I spend more on some things because I do buy pastured meat at my farmer's market and similarly buy organic vegetables there. But that's a lot harder to show in a video than grocery store ads I can screenshot. And on the other hand, I also save on some things as I do stock up when things are on sale. And I garden, so provide a lot of my own vegetables. And I can pickles and relishes for some of my fourth layer toppings. So I spend more than this in some ways and spend less in other ways, and it comes out to pretty much about what I spend. I hope you can see from this example that you can eat extremely healthy, nutrient-dense meals while reversing your diabetes, even if you're broke enough to qualify for the maximum in food stamps. If finances have prevented you from starting to reverse your diabetes, you can learn how now with the playlist on the screen. No matter how broke you are, you can go forth and kick diabetes to the curb. So, hey, we've got a contest here. Here's a question for you. Name 2 of the electrolytes I recommend supplementing during your journey. Put your answer in a comment below, and I'll randomly choose from the correct answers and follow up with you to win the journal of your choice.